Welcome to today's recording on planning analytics. We're going to have a short demo on some of the new and exciting features in planning analytics, specifically planning analytics workspace. Workspace is a new and powerful and exciting go-forward user interface, new to planning analytics. In the old technology, it could seem a little disconnected, could lead to some frustrating things for the end user. And with Planning Analytics Workspace, the user experience is frankly amazing. It's one place to handle all things planning analytics related. When you log into Planning Analytics, you'll see that you get a main screen here that has a number of models, and we call them tiles in the workspace world, but a number of models that's fully customizable by the modeler and end user. Everything in Planning Analytics Workspace is secured based on security through either Active Directory or single sign-on. And there's also security built right into Workspace for different user roles. So you don't have to worry about access to items that people may not, should not see. For instance, maybe headcount data or things that are real sensitive to the business. So as I get in, I'm going to start with kind of a day in the life of an end user. Today I'm going to be Bob, and Bob is an end user. He's also a power user. He's a modeler with access to all items in the model. Again, I could secure that, and Bob may only see his small piece of the pie, but for today's exercises, I'll have access to everything. As we get in, Bob's going to start, and we're going to start with a plan, a planning application, and we're going to use something called the bottoms-up plan. And you'll see as you get in, as companies go through their planning process, it can be frustrating, and it can be, a little uncertain if you're not sure who's working on what. And with Planning Analytics Workspace, much like TM1, there is a workflow component that is loaded in and that you can set up to have just those pieces that people get access to go in and build up their plan, and then have that roll up to someone else who gets to approve that plan or reject it or make notes for changes. So for today, I'm Bob, and I'm going to be working on the segment called Michigan, which is going to be my piece of the pie. So I'll go in and choose Michigan. If I only had access to that, it would just show Michigan. But since I have access to everything, I'm going to go and make that choice, and I'm going to go ahead and take ownership of that. You'll see that I'm now the current owner, and as I go in, I'm going to, in the bottom down here, it starts with just our revenue and margins, certain information on just Michigan. So the first part of my plan is to start with revenue. I'm going to go up and make sure that I have highlighted Michigan, and you'll see that I have brought up Michigan's data. And real quickly, with Planning Analytics Workspace, I can see right off the bat that in the state of Michigan, my gross revenue and gross margin by channel, I can pinpoint an analysis very quickly. That my margin and revenue kind of ratios on the internet and retail are much better than they are in distribution. I wonder why that is. I can also see products by channel, so I can see that phones are the biggest piece of that pie. And then I could go through and look at kind of the product mix by quarter. I'm also able to use these filtering options up top to change these, and maybe I want to look at this at retail, right? Internet. And then I get down to distribution, and I see right away that tablets are a much bigger piece of the selling pie in Michigan under the distribution channel than some of the other products. And is that what's leading to my margin decline in distribution? It's probably a good place to start. So real quickly, within a minute, I have gone through and have determined some actionable items to look at. So I'm going to go back and reset this. You'll also see that I could change this from units to dollars, the years, and the versions. So now I'm going to start my process. And earlier in the process, I met with our sales team and we went through numbers and we went through a review of prior years, kind of like I'm sure you guys do. And one of the things that we highlighted is that we're going to be selling a new product into Michigan, which is this 3G 128 gigabyte phone. The way this model is set up, and again, it's fully customizable, I could input this here, or I could click this More button and go to a completely new revenue model that's linked in with this, that's going to show me more information. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So you'll see that I've gone into the revenue area, and in here there's a lot of different tabs that have been created that show different things, assumptions and margin detail and channel forecasts. And I'm just going to go into that same product unit forecast. You'll see that I'm still on Michigan. I'm going to expand my 3G smartphones, and you'll see that it's still zeros. And I'm going to go ahead and now input what we had in our conversations with the sales team. So as we talk to them, we think that this product's really going to be a big product for the state of Michigan, and that we're going to sell 3,000 units. I could simply go in and just input the 3,000 here and hit enter, and you'll see that it's spread equally across the months, which may or may not make sense in your business. For us, that we had talked about that it's probably going to sell at about the same ratios as a different product. So I'm going to go ahead and zero that out, and I'm going to go do something that's really a great feature in planning analytics called spreading. I'm going to right-click on this cell and go to Spread Data, and I'm going to you'll see that there's a number of different options here, but I know I need to relatively proportionally spread it based on another product because we feel that that's the right mix. So I'm going to choose the relative proportional spread. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to change this to the 3G 32 gig, which is what we believe it's going to spread off of, that ratio. I'll hit next. I'm going to input 3,000 and hit apply, and you'll see that this is now input, and each of these months has been updated based on the spread of that other product that we chose. So real quickly, I've gone in and added this in for a new product. It is calculated, if I change this over to gross revenue, based on costs I have in there, it is calculated the amount of revenue, the number of units, and quickly has spread that across our model. So now you're probably asking yourself, okay, I went out, I did it in this other workbook, this other model. Does it spread back to my main plan that I'm responsible for? And the answer is yes. If we go back to the bottoms-up plan and we simply hit refresh, you'll see that that 3,000 has instantly come over. If I change this to gross revenue, you'll see that it's updated there. And if I were to go over to the income statement, hit refresh, you'll see that the numbers have now updated on gross revenue for the year all the way down to our bottom line. So real quickly, I have input that data, I've taken the meetings I've had with our sales team, and quickly have made those changes to revenue. At the same time, when we were meeting, we talked about adding a new sales employee, a new sales manager for this area, which is going to help drive this business. So I'm going to go over to the headcount tab, and I'm going to enter that information in real quick. I could hit more and go to the headcount model with all of the information in there, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and put it here. So I'm going to go in and put his name is going to be Charlie. And when I put that in, if I go to the job type and hit the down arrow, you'll see that I have all these different types that are added. These are just dimensions and cubes and basically pick lists where I can go ahead and say it's a sales employee. The sales employee has now driven this to the number of different account codes or a number of different job codes. So he's going to be a sales manager. He's going to be a full-time person. It's preloaded his salary for a sales manager. I'm going to go ahead and put in his merit period of June. I'm going to leave that at 5%. So once June rolls around, his new salary will adjust based on this information. In the headcount model, there's all the other assumptions for medical and bonus and FUTA, SUTA, all the information there. But real quickly, I've added this in, and this again has gone through and updated our bottom line by simply hitting refresh. you'll notice that my net income for Michigan, our net profit, has changed. This works the exact same way with capital and OPEX. If I click on the capital tab, you'll see that I could add in new assets. I could change those types to buildings, add in new buildings. So the same process holds true, and it's all interconnected and flows through the models instantly. So I'm in the middle of doing this work, and the CFO or one of the executives comes to me and says, hey, we need to adjust our models. We need to start tracking. And I'm going to talk about this in your terms of either, maybe we need to track fresh or non-fresh food. And your first reaction is, oh my gosh, I got to create a new dimension, and I'm going to have to rebuild the model, and this is going to take so much time, and the pressure's on me to get this information right away. It also could be, trade is a really big topic nowadays, and maybe you need to start tracking the country of origin for the types of food and the food SKUs that you have, because if a tariff gets instituted on something, and you may need to adjust your costing on it and your sales prices and all of these other things. So there's a really quick and powerful way to add these to the cubes without having to rebuild them or make them bigger or less efficient. And I talked about that a little bit earlier with the PowerPoints, which are hierarchies. And I'm going to real quick just show you how that can be done. So I'm just going to add a new tab here, and I'm going to hit the edit button so I can adjust this a little bit. And my first step is to use a little bit of the light AI that Planning Analytics has today. And I'm going to type in product by year, hit enter. And what this is going to do is go through and search all of our models and give me all these options to start this process. Well, I know that I want to be, in this model with this cube, so I'm just going to hit use, and you'll see that instantly it's added in this crosstab, or this exploration is what it's called. I can quickly, if I wanted to change this to some sort of visualization, I can quickly do that. But for this exercise, we're just going to leave it as an exploration. And maybe one of the first things that someone has asked with this company is, hey, I need to be able to see our products by year, but I need to be able to see what colors we sell. And we didn't have that built into our models. There's no dimension called color. But quickly, I can add that in because I've already gone ahead and done this. I've created an attribute called color. I've loaded in the different colors for the different product types. I've created a virtual dimension based off of that attribute. And real quick, with a click of a button, I could add a related hierarchy called color and insert that. And now, without rebuilding the cube, without adding in another dimension, I have gone through and have added color in. And now I can see the breakdown of different colors by year. Well, let's say now we're going to go back to this example of country of origin. And you need to load in what countries these products are coming from. So real quick, to do that, we would go into the dimension called product. And if I click edit dimension, and I hit this button here, which is the attributes, you will see that here's the color attribute that I had. Maybe I need to add that country of origin in. All I do is click that button, hit create, and I've quickly created this attribute. I can right away start loading this information in, and maybe these all come from China, and maybe this one comes from Korea, so on and so forth. And once I get those added in, all I need to do is click create hierarchy, hit OK. You'll see this is going to refresh. And now my country of origin has become a hierarchy within this dimension, and that I can add in to any of my analyses that I have out there, and I can quickly take a look at each of these products by the country of origin. I didn't have to spend the time rebuilding the models. I was able to quickly do it. And this will definitely go back to to requirements gathering, and as you start the rebuild of a model or a build of a model, you're going to want to set it up this way, and think about these attributes and get them loaded in at the time. But even if I didn't and I forgot one or there's a brand new one to our business, I can quickly get that added in, and start analysis on it. As I was saying, you don't have to rebuild the models. You don't have to reload all the data. You don't have to spend lots of time or consulting dollars having this redone. Very easy for you to do. So as I've gone through my plan, let's say that I have now completed my part of the plan, right? I'm done, I'm ready to submit this. All I have to do is come in and say submit, and the person who's responsible for the overall plan has now been notified. You'll see that this is locked. They're going to go in and do their review. They can make adjustments on their end. They can reject it. They can put notes in to have you change it. And you can see how the workflow will keep your planning process on target at all times. A couple more things I want to run through. So let's say we've completed our plan, and we're ready to have the CFO kind of do an overview, or maybe the years in progress, and the CFO or upper management needs to get a good look at everything, high level. With the customizations and workspace, we can do that. So here's a CFO dashboard that was created. And real quick, you can go through and within a couple seconds, I can look at gross profit and go, okay, we're in a poor status, but our trend is upward, right? And maybe our product cost is, hey, we're in a great status, but our trend is downward. I can do the same thing with marketing, or some of your internal other KPIs like inventory turns and how we get orders and things of that nature. So possibilities are endless to get this great view of your world, which is so different than what you're used to with just TM1. Last, I want to take you through a little bit of planning analytics for Excel, which we'll call PAX. And PAX is similar to Perspectives, but kind of on steroids. They have redone so much of it, and it is really a great tool for those who like Excel. Now, it's obviously not going to do everything that Workspace does, because you are in Excel. However, there's so much that you can do, and what you create in PAX, you can actually use in Planning Analytics Workspace. So I've gone ahead and logged in. I'm going to just choose my same models that I was working with, and I'm going to go down to the revenue models that we were just working on as well. And there's a few different reports that, a few different options you can choose here. And one of them is an exploration, which gives you that slice and dice feel. A quick report is just a static report, so if I were to click that, it would just bring that information in. I could send it anywhere, and someone could look at it. It's not connected to the database. The dynamic report is connected to the database, and you can actually do write back. So you could build your plan up here in Excel and push it back to the database and have it flow through. So the first one I'm going to choose is this exploration on this sheet. And you'll see that it's brought in this cross-tab view where I can switch things around, slice and dice, right? Real quick and easy, really powerful. You can also use your hierarchies in Planning Analytics for Excel by simply going to the dimensions and going to our product dimension. You will see that here's the color that we were using, but here's also country of origin that we just created. So if I were to grab that and drag it in, I now am using virtual hierarchies that aren't in the model in Excel. Pretty powerful. I'm just going to real quick create a dynamic report with this same information. And what I wanted to show you here is that it does work very similarly. I can change and move this to Michigan, right? I can change all of these drop downs. And you'll see as I click on these are all DBRW formulas, right? So what that means, I can write back to the TM1 database. Again, I can do all of this work in Excel. I can create charts here if I wanted to, although they're Excel charts. And then I could actually publish this right back to Workspace and use this information right in a Workspace tile. So for you guys in reporting, this could be huge on your budgeting and forecasting information. To take this info and not having Cognos Analytics or some of the limitations that might be there with moving this to Power BI, you can take this and move it right in, build your reports, and have a really robust, full-featured planning application. Any questions?